So I do want to know, how do you think this all works out ego-wise? Because I think obviously everybody's going to come to Kyrie. There's a lot of talk that I've heard people say, like talking heads like Nick and Wright, I've heard people say, they should trade Kyrie. I think I was just reading something online on some message board where they were like, Kyrie for Ben Simmons, and obviously that wouldn't happen. But where do you think they are with Kyrie? Like, obviously there was the whole talk. I mean, Kyrie kind of, I guess, disappeared or whatever. He's back in the fold now. Where do you think the Nets are with Kyrie? Do you think this Kyrie thing could end up being an issue? Where do you think it is?
Well, I think the Kyrie Irving issue is resolved at this point. I think, well, today, right before I hopped on this call, we had the media session with Kyrie, who ended his his personal absence. And he mostly talked about everything. He broke down what the absence was. Obviously, we all knew it was revolved around family and personal issues. He talked about the reports buying George Floyd a house, how he continues to be a powerful voice within the social injustice community. And he really just broke it all down. But the thing is, when you want to look at the big picture of will the three work, I think it will work because it's the simple fact of these players all have valuable experience and collective experience that is untouchable compared to other teams in this league. You look, obviously we know the history between James Harden and Kevin Durant, and we've seen it in the past two games. They work perfectly together. Harden facilitates, and KD's just an automatic bucket. Now, when you want to spread it a little more to the Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, just look up Team USA highlights from Rio and everything, right? They all played together. Obviously, that's not really a good sample size to base it off of because they're going against international competition. They got a super team going. But they worked well together. They all have relationships. But the thing that everyone's undermining is that they all are in that stage of their career where they know what they want and they're not young players anymore. James Harden hit it on the nail last night when he was talking. When him and Kevin Durant were in Oklahoma City, they were kids. They were young men. They were guys that just got into the league, that were focused on making money, putting up big numbers, making a name for themselves. But these three players don't need to make a name for themselves anymore. We know who they are. If you say Kyrie Irving, you know who Kyrie Irving is. You know James Harden, everything goes along for those three players, right? So I feel like all these three, they know what's at stake. They know it's their time to bring Brooklyn their first championship in franchise history. And I think it's going to work together. I think I'm going to be excited to see Wednesday. Kyrie Irving is expected to play against the Cavaliers. And obviously, they go up against Jared Allen and Taurean Prince for the first time. So I saw Jared Allen probably say it could be a little awkward that, hey, my debut for the Cleveland Cavaliers is against my former team that just traded me. But like I said before, I think that this whole thing is going to work together because they're at the stage in their careers where they all know what they want and they all acknowledge their roles. So as long as they can follow the sacrifice, I think they'll be fine.
Okay, well, here's what I would push back slightly, and to go back to the Kyrie thing. So Kyrie was in Cleveland at one point in time. They were very good. They went to multiple NBA finals, and I believe at the end, towards the end of their run, a reporter asked him a question or whatever about, what his future was like. And he basically said, LeBron, I'm playing with the best player in the NBA. How could I not want to leave? That offseason, he requested a trade. You go to Boston. It seems like it was a great situation with Tatum and Brown. I guess, it kind of dimmed out at the end. There was him kind of saying he would resign when they did whatever that thing was, when he had the microphone and he was talking to the fans. And I know all that sometimes can be hoopla and just speak and maybe not saying what you mean because it's kind of like you have to say it at that moment. You can't say something else. But it would seem, I guess, to me from the outside looking at, the Kyrie is a guy that changes his mind fairly often based off the situation. Do you think that could be an issue at all?
Well, this is how I'll lead it off, right? A lot of people, when you look at the fans as the NBA is a business, right? The NBA is a business revolved around entertainment, and fans primarily care. Usually, 80% of all fans care primarily about what their player does on the court while wearing a uniform, right? But a lot of players, a lot of fans, and everyone else outside of the organization and mostly anyone outside of who doesn't wear an NBA uniform, doesn't acknowledge the fact that these guys are also humans too, right? So, say in anyone's situation, this is Kyrie Irving's. To get back to your question, this is Kyrie Irving's since he joined the Nets. That was his real first opportunity to go where he wanted to go. He got drafted by Cleveland. He was in Cleveland. He got traded to Boston. He had to be in Boston. But the thing with Kyrie Irving is he's one of those players that really value, and he's a hometown kid. He's from New Jersey. He grew up a Nets fan when they were in New Jersey. He wasn't like today. I was a fanatic. So he understands the fans' point of view behind it. But the thing is with this is he's playing for a team that he grew up watching. You know, if for any fan that's listening out there, just put yourself in those shoes of playing for your team that you grew up rooting for and watching. Right? You grew up, you watched them throughout the years, and obviously in the New Jersey years, you had the Jason Kidd era, which was promising. But every year after that, once Kidd and their whole squad really left and Rod Thorne collapsed the team, 12 wins, 20 wins, New Jersey, lottery, you know, the list goes on. It was disappointing years, and when they came to Brooklyn, obviously, you know, from 2012 onward, it only grew from there. But the thing with Kyrie Irving is, it's like I said before, he's playing for a team that he knows this team. He's been invested in this team since he was a kid. He knows the whole history. And I can only imagine when he was playing with Cleveland and the Celtics too, he was tuning into some Nets games. He acknowledged the history. He saw that, like every other player around this league, which a lot of people don't really pay enough attention to, is players around the league know what's happening with other teams in their organization, whether it's the insides or the outsides. So you look at Kyrie Irving, someone that grew up a Nets fan and now is playing for the team. He knows what's at stake. He knows what the fans want to see. They want to see the team win it all. So the thing is with Kyrie Irving, I think that, yeah, you add in a guy like James Harden who kind of plays the same position as you, especially if James Harden or Steve Nash says, hey, James, we want you to play the point guard. Kyrie moved to the 2, whatever the case is. But I think on top of that, like I said earlier, all three of these big three, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, they all know what's at stake here, and they're all invested. They're at that point in their career. James Harden has not won a championship. Kyrie's won a couple. Kevin Durant's coming back. He's trying to prove his legacy, right? His legacy was torn apart since that he joined Golden State. He joined a 73-win team. The list goes on, right? So the players understand what's at stake here, not for just them and the organization, but the NBA as a whole. So that's why I think it'll work, and that's why I think Kyrie Irving's going to be so locked in when it does come down to Wednesday where he's expected to play. And we're going to see it right away that, wow, these three players can work together, and the rest of the NBA has a lot of trouble with the Nets moving forward, and a lot of teams are going to take notice to that.